Hello, Cardstack community. My name is Chrissy. I'm the founding director of the Cardstack project, coming to you from the land of the Web3. Welcome to another episode of the Web3 Watch Fireside Chat series. Today, we're talking to John Calabrese, head of product of Nansen, to talk about blockchain analytics. Welcome, John.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Chris. Really appreciate it.
Nice having you on the show. Can you tell us a little bit about like what brought you to this exciting world of Web3 and what specifically are you working on Nansen? I know you guys are doing some really interesting thing around analytics, kind of data science, but why don't you tell us a little about your project and how you got attracted to this field?
Sure. Yeah, so like you mentioned, I'm the head of product for Nansen. My background is traditional fintech, product management. I've found myself in building products that try to democratize data and really financial products that I feel like are sophisticated in nature and bring them down to general individuals that we want to scale that product and give it to people that need it. So what we've done at Nansen actually is we're building something for on-chain data analytics. So we offer three value props that I think are really important for people to know. So number one, we have wide coverage across NFTs, DeFi contracts, and tokens, and we have 11 supported blockchains. So it's really
Wow.
a huge coverage that we have blockchains such as Polygon and Ethereum and Phantom. So really good stuff there. Number two is that we label wallet transactions. So that you can actually know who the market participants are that are involved in a transaction. And so we can get more into that, but that really helps you uncover and surface what we really want to do. Like our tagline is we surface the signal in blockchain data, and that really helps us to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Then number three, and my product roots, we want to make sure that we develop a easy to use no code platform that anyone can come on to and start to use. And so we have an experience that I think is really natural to use. And we call using Nansen like going down the rabbit hole. You start from the very
Mm-hmm.
top, you look at here's stuff that's going on these different chains, and then you could drill down to the very details and actually see like, hey, what is this wallet doing with their items or tokens, NFTs, etc. And that's empowering for most people and empowers investors to make the right choices. So yeah, that's Nansen in a nutshell.
It's very cool. And I played with Nansen and I looked at my own wallet and I was labeled medium dex trader, which apparently is like kind of like a non-playable character. Like it's like a generic person in the game, like not too high, not too low. So how do I rank in the user base of Nansen if I'm a medium dex trader?
Yeah, and we really have different types of labels. So there's like names. Names are one thing that we would spot. If like you have an ENS name, you might see
Mhm.
yourself like come up as a ENS name, or your OpenSea name. And then the second one would be like heuristics. So that would be like things that you're doing on chain. So if you have a Gnosis safe or
Mhm.
you've been involved in a sandwich attack, you might be a sandwich attack victim or something like that. Yeah, it's pretty
Permanent,
interesting.
permanent scar on your arm.
Exactly. Yeah. And then we also have a team of scouts who really goes out and tries to find individuals. So you might dox yourself too, and we'll find you that way. So like
Mhm.
if you're a celebrity and stuff like that, you might that might happen. Or
So
if it's in
is Snoop Dogg really Cosmo Di Medici? Medici? Is it real? Like I
uh,
think he doxed himself, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we if that has happened, yes, we would find that individual. But I'm not going to say that we've done that
Okay, okay.
for him specifically. Um, but yeah, and then the other one is we have different labels for types of like participants. So obviously, externally owned address is going to be an individual, but we also show uh, contracts and we show funds and we show exchanges. And that's something that a lot of other tools don't offer. Like we
Mhm.
aggregate all the exchanges and the entities so that here's Wintermute or here is Alameda. And that's really cool stuff because they sometimes move markets.
Yeah. And like
And
Etherscan version is way thinner, and I'm sure you guys go broader in your householding if using that term, right?
correct.
Combining those address on one entity.
Yeah, exactly. And Coinbase is notoriously difficult to track, and we
Mhm.
do a much better job of saying this is a Coinbase wallet.
I
Uh,
see.
so we do that. And then I guess the last thing I would mention on labels is that we have um, our claim to fame is smart money, and we
Mm-hmm.
like to tell people to follow smart money. These are participants that have shown in the past that they are um, outperforming the market. So we'll go and look at wallets that are doing really well and label them. Again, they might be funds. So funds would potentially automatically come into that. But if you're like an NFT trader, or you're a DEX trader or a liquidity provider that has done really well, will label you, and that's really a good signal for, like, if those people get into a new project or yeah, do something, you want to be in the know for smart money. So that's one of the cool aspects of labels that we have.
Yeah, when you're starting out copy, right? And then
Exactly.
hopefully we're not following this generation of Jim Cramer, which has a different types of results. It's been proven to be, if you do the opposite trade he's saying, is pretty good. So I'll try to find smart money who are actually performing.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's true. And yeah, we don't condone copy trading, but crypto is also a tight-knit community. So there
Mm,
are things that we need to know. And that's the nice thing about blockchain data, is it's transparent. You can
mhm.
see what's going on. There's nothing hidden. And so, yeah, you should be picking up on some of those items, and knowing, especially if you own a project, we like to categorize the product in terms of like discovery, diligence, and defense.
Mm-hmm.
Discovery would be the process of like, hey, this is a project I didn't know about, and we flash those things up, like, this is smart money is getting into
Right.
a new thing, whether that be me bits, or like a new NFT or a new token. Maybe it is something that was put out, like looks rare or something like that, and we'll flash that up. So that might be a discovery. Diligence would be who owns that token or NFT, so we show the cap table for a given project, so that you can know if there's a concentration or is it decentralized. And then the last thing is defense, which is, if you own something, you really want to know if certain people are leaving that project, or if they're selling, or if they're selling at a loss or something like that. You really want to know that. So those are the things that we offer at Nansen.
That's very cool. What do you think is, from the mix of your users who are subscribed to Nansen, what do you think is the ratio of discovery and then diligence or defense? Is it somewhat equal use cases, or is there a skew towards how is the product being used today?
Yeah, I think a lot of people use Nansen for discovery. I think that's the number one, probably. We see a lot of people come in, and they're really interested in NFTs. So our NFT product came out about this time last year. So
Mm-hmm.
May of last year, which was really a hit, because I don't think there was much in terms of the way of like
Mm-hmm.
NFT analytics, and OpenSea was there, but they weren't really leveraging their data all that much.
Mm-hmm.
So Nansen came in and said, hey, let's unveil what's actually happening here. And I think that the NFT paradise, you could think of that as like a billboard, or CoinGecko for NFTs, and
Right.
so tracking like volume, or seeing Otherworld or something like that as a brand new NFT, like that one has like a surge in volume. That's something that you really want to know about. But then once you get in, yeah, I mean, it would be doing the more due diligence items, and then uh, defense really comes into one of the more sophisticated tools in Nansen, but really powerful, is smart alerts.
Mm,
So being alerted when something changes, like there is that activity that I was talking about, like a smart
right.
money leaves or sells one of their big pieces, like you should know that. and we'll alert you on the go because this might happen at like it's 24/7. It might be at night. You want to know ahead of anyone, so you could build those kind of like it's still no code, but you could develop a sophisticated program
Hmm.
to say alert me when something like this happens, and we will let you know on Discord, Telegram, or Slack, wherever you can be found.
Yeah. Wow, launching this product a year ago in NFT is like launching a like electric car 10 years ago, right? It's like,
Yeah,
wow, you're so far ahead of the game. Like obviously we're in a field that like where every month feel like a year.
yeah.
So what do you think is the most exciting thing kind of macroly in NFT as it kind of gone through almost like a compressed maturity cycle of the token and maybe DeFi? Are you seeing people kind of buying and holding in a kind of like more mature thing, or is it you're still seeing activity where this discovery is still the excitement of the week?
Yeah, I mean, I guess recently with yeah, Otherworld and some bigger projects coming out where mints have, I think we saw gas price go up to 3,600 gwei, which is insane.
It's crazy. I
Uh,
took a screenshot when it was 5,600 grays
yeah,
in the
it's just
middle of it.
unbelievable, right? So like that to me shows that there's demand. I'm glad that Ethereum held up.
Hmm.
There's two sides to that story. People are like, this shouldn't happen, but at the same time, like it did work, and
Yes.
um, yeah, there should be some kind of going back and looking at this and who were the what were the causes of the problem here. But I
Yeah.
think that shows there's demand, which is good. But yeah, I think we're getting into a stage where there's like I think a V2 for NFTs coming soon, where
Mhm.
the play to earn and GameFi and metaverse is actually really going to come to fruition. I don't think anything's really like you look at Axie Infinity was a really awesome project.
Hmm.
Still wasn't like the blockbuster that I think we'll get. You could also see more from the events side, I believe. Like I think that there could be more done on that side. So
Beyond like the proof of attendance protocol, Pope, right?
exactly, yeah, more like connection, and I hope data can be brought into that mix too. Like
Hmm.
your patterns and your usage patterns, and you're kind of talking the talk with your money and your activity on
Yeah.
chain. The same can be done at events, like hey, maybe you get access to a particular area or something like that, and your preferences are already pre-known because of what you've done in the past, or maybe you get access because of your past activities. So I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to that kind of stuff. But I think GameFi and metaverse are here, and they're going to be even there's more initiatives that are coming soon.
Yeah, and it's really excited and think about like blockchain analytics is not just something that gives you a dashboard, but possibly saying, hey, because of these activity you've done, you suddenly can get automatically whitelisted or automatically permission to do something. Closing that loop with, I think, is very a great opportunity, right? Because we have the analytics thus far in the analytics, whether that's a no-code tool or like a kind of like professional service like chain analysis, they kind of
Yep.
like handhold you through this. And then you have like lower end tools like Dune. How do you think, Nansen position between that landscape of these kind of data analytics service provider that using on-chain data from chain analysis on one end maybe, and Dune on the other end? How do you think Nansen fits in with that landscape?
Yeah, yeah, it's a great question. And so I think chain analysis, they definitely their target is around any malicious activity or
Hmm.
nefarious stuff, and there that definitely exists out there. And I think it's pretty low though. I mean, I want to say that chain analysis even put out a report that said it was like 2% of all blockchain transactions are are truly nefarious. But
Mm.
that's where I think our Nansen has come into the market and said, hey, you can use on-chain data to really help your investment decisions. And we want to be the Bloomberg of crypto. And I know there's other
Right.
companies that have said that before, but I think we actually will be the company to do it. And
Hmm.
Bloomberg was set, they set out to solve the problem for investors and
Yeah.
the financial individuals out there that are trying to trade. So that's what we did, and I think we've had success in our product, and the people that are sing praises about Nansen have actually done really well
Hmm.
by using the tool. I think on the Dune side, I think that is more of a developer platform, and
Hmm.
they have done a great job of open sourcing some dashboards and allowing you to build whatever on their data set, which is really pretty robust. But you one need to trust whoever's building that, because you don't know if they did it correctly or not,
Right.
and likely you're just getting past a link to some Dune dashboard, whereas we are validating and auditing our work. We have quality assurance where that I'm not sure if that's the case, but I'm not saying that they don't do that, but it's more you need to trust, which is
Hmm.
fine.
Yeah, it's like
um,
trusting someone's spreadsheets you download on the internet.
exactly,
This
yeah,
is the
right.
model I use. Trust it. It's like, well, there's errors, or there may be malicious error, or maybe always choosing, skewing to a certain direction. I think that's true. Most people are not sophisticated enough right now to really introspect the sequel to see if it's
Right.
the intent. So
Exactly.
there's quite a bit of trust in that link.
Yeah, exactly. So there's that, and then there's really not much of an experience from, and this is, I don't want to. I also like Dune's product, and I always say that these are collaborators and not
Right,
competitors
right. For
in this
sure.
space, right? but
Yeah.
uh, but we do have the ability to like drill further in Nansen, which I personally appreciate. Again, like if I want to find something, I know how to. And a lot of the users that are like power users of Nansen, they don't need to code, but they know like, okay, if I take these two addresses, I could go to wallet pair profiler and bring up a really amazing view that either gives me more info about that, or I can right click on anything and kind of drill further in or create a smart alert or something like that. So
Hmm.
I think it's a true end-to-end experience. And yeah, so chain analysis, to sum it up, I don't think we really play in the same
Hmm.
space as they do.
Yeah.
And then with Dune, I think we offer more no code, more quality experience than what they have.
Yeah, I definitely see developers using Dune Analytics as a way to like, oh, I've done something, let's keep track of it, almost like a monitoring tool, like a DevOps tool of sorts. Whereas
Correct.
Nansen, you're right, it's a trader's kind of like life, right? Like, the Bloomberg people who use the terminals, yes, mostly they use as a messaging tool, but the data that it allows them to have a common conversation, if they know that both people are looking at the same thing, so then you're just talking about the deal and not just measuring whether you're talking about the same thing. So that commonality is really helpful.
Yeah, exactly. And it's central to their life, right? And I think that's what Nansen we want to be for that investment community. Yeah.
That's really interesting. See, one of the things that was really interesting to me was that as project look for contributors. So let's shift a little bit from a project perspective. So Cardstack is a Web3 UI layer. So
Yeah.
let's say we want to recruit developers. Let's say we want to reward people who have made development or do something, participate in early protocol or Gitcoin, whatever it might be. Now you see these kind of airdrop targeted to like specific communities. Even ones like Optimism, they didn't even target people who used Optimism. They just target people who use this broader Ethereum EVM compatible Web3 ecosystem. Do
Right.
you plan to make certain analytics and kind of vetted algorithm available for developers to use for these targeting in their Merkle drops and airdrops? Or do you think it's still one of those things where you go and export a CSV on your premium account and then do it elsewhere off chain, or do you think that closing the loop of using the analytics to drive on chain behavior is something that may be in your product roadmap in the future?
Yeah, it's an interesting idea, and it's certainly we work with we have an ecosystem team, which is where we partner with different protocols or chains to actually understand what they want to build, and we
Hmm.
bring that to the market. I certainly think that's in the realm of possibility for us to do. We have been looking at getting more into this space, and I'll give an example, like our indices that we just introduced, like
Hmm?
NFT indices. I think this is our first entry into building something that is almost like Oracle-ish. I'm not saying that
Right,
we're
right.
that, but
Yes,
that's what kind of
yes.
what you're getting at, right? Like, saying, hey, here's the source of truth for this. And our indices, which we have, which is like we have the blue chip indice, the GameFi indices, the metaverse indices. Those show you what the performance of certain projects are in the past quarter, past year. Really awesome stuff. We haven't made that investable yet. People have
Mhm,
they're asking, hey, can you guys? Institutions love this idea, right? Like
mhm.
they don't necessarily want to buy a Bored Ape Yacht Club NFT, but they want exposure to the entire category, the sector, or they want to do sector overweights or underweights or something like that.
Mhm.
Uh, and we have this now information, which is awesome, but we haven't actually connected that to a product yet. So we're really looking for, hey, is there someone who wants to partner to do that? And I could see the same thing happening with on-chain addresses. So yeah, we would be open and willing to do that. We're just looking for the right partner.
No, I think it's really exciting, kind of on-chain, off-chain, not just as a type of like, hey, let's put all the data on-chain and all the intelligence gathering is off-chain and private. I think this idea of closing the loop so that we're actually improving our situation awareness, right? Through
Right.
what you talk about Oracle. They're really computational Oracle. But then again, all oracles are kind of computational. You think about the Chainlink DeFi feed.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a weighted average,
Right.
that's computation. What if it's weighted average with spam filtering and two other type of vector-based space division in the AI sense? Those are actually really high signal information to say if medium deck trader, then do something else. That could be a really nice primitive for developers to build upon. So very
Yeah.
excited to see that possibly. We do a reward protocol. So our reward protocol is mostly dealing with what we call recurring micro proofs. So to be able to get these signals instead of doing a one-time drop, if you don't redeem today, next week we'll run the algorithm again and kind of roll over your thing, and that creates this long-term participation versus this one-time windfall, I guess. Like at the time of it is a windfall, maybe 2 months later, maybe more or less. But I think this idea of doing this recurring distribution using on-chain, off-chain analytics is a good way to keep the reward in the users and the contributors, and less at the opportunistic and the speculators, right? So that signal is definitely lacking, but could be really great. And it seems like you guys have a lot of those signals in your platform.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that. I mean, overall in the space, like I'm so excited by just people that are innovating and trying to get to, hey, here's a problem and let's solve that problem. And to your point about like, yeah, you don't want a windfall of the airdrop is not supposed to be just a one time.
Yeah.
Yes, you rewarded that individual for doing something beneficial in the beginning, but yeah, it should be ongoing. And I totally appreciate that you guys are trying to solve that challenge. So that's
Yeah,
great.
sustainability is really about rewarding people as they come in and out of community versus rewarding only the people who are like scalpers who are there in the first 3 minutes. So
Yeah.
it's interesting to think about like, understanding this market as it goes. You guys have the kind of more quantitative product that you have it. Seems like you guys are introducing a more like research product with Nansen Alpha. How important do you think it is for people to get like a readout? Like, hey, I'm too busy looking at dashboard. Can you just tell me what's going on? Is that the reason you guys have that product line? How does that balance out to the more quantitative the stuff that brought you guys, you're brought to fame with that?
Yeah. So with Alpha, Alpha is a product that I guess from like a feature perspective, we have a couple tiers. So standard is the base tier that you get, and then you can upgrade to VIP, which gives you early access to dashboards and a couple other features like more smart alerts and more, I think watch list items as well. But the alpha product is pretty similar in terms of functionality compared to VIP, But where it differs is you get access to research and you get access to a community, a Discord community, which really this is something that we expect every alpha member to contribute just as much as
Hmm.
they
Hmm.
take out of alpha.
Right.
So you go through an interview process. There's a wait list. Once you get added to the alpha product, you get added to that Discord group, and there we are sharing, yes, more research. I actually would say that VIP does get a bit of research that we're
Hmm.
trying to add on soon. But that's happening in alpha is more, I'll call it degen research. So like, here's something that we're hearing in the market, or maybe even products or projects that we don't even support on Nansen, like Chronos or something like that. Or Cosmos environment or something like that. And we'll explain more about those projects, and Alpha can contribute or participate if they'd like.
Yeah, I think adding a chat room to a analytic product really makes that Bloomberg analogy more and
Exactly.
more, more and more like apple to apples, right?
Yeah.
Do you see people who were, you came from a fintech kind of background. Do you see people who are actually in that kind of finance, in the Bloomberg style finance industry, getting interested because the tools are finally mature enough for them to grok it and play with it? Or is there still a gap between the education of a different set of acronym that we use to both make ourselves feel like we know something, but also sometimes a side effect of excluding people who wants to understand what's going on?
Right. Yeah. I think we are getting to that precipice, and I would say I was just in crypto Bahamas, and I think
Hmm.
there is that appetite for the institutional investor, especially. I think family offices have already been in Bitcoin for a while, or potentially Ethereum, but I think they're finally getting the idea about Web3, and like knowing what like actual on-chain dexes and different DAOs can actually do for them. So I think this is now going to be a revolution for them, and I think bringing these tools to them, it makes sense, right? They've used it before, they understand um, tools like this, but it's kind of a little bit of a switch as well to like um, yeah, to educate towards, there's a yield. Yes, it's not a like a real yield that you would get for like in a bond, but there is permanent loss involved, and like we can show that a little bit. But also you want to know if you go into that contract, who else is there, and if there's liquidity involved, and we can show all that on chain, and where the tokens are going in terms of exchanges and things like that. So I think both from a our investors in the institutional space getting in, I think they're interested, and I think they're becoming more crypto curious, or Web3 curious. I think they were crypto
Hmm.
curious before. Now they're getting into like Web3 curious, which is kind of
Right.
cool. And then from like individual like mindset and curiosity perspective, I think people are in my shoes, like product management shoes. Like I didn't have developer experience, and so I've been involved in crypto as like a interested uh, individual. I really like, I loved following new projects. I thought it was really innovative, but I wasn't able like personally to participate. Um, and
Was
I
that
think,
because the tools were too immature at the time, or is it some other reason that you didn't participate more personally?
yeah, well, I think, for product managers, there wasn't really much, these are protocols, right? And
Right.
you could kind of build, specs for a Web 2 app are very different than a Web 3 app. So I
Hmm.
think, now that the protocols are getting to a point where you can add that layer of UX, and you can add a
Right. Right.
let's get user research involved, and I think that's becoming more of a concept here. I think that's leaving, like allowing these investors to participate more, right? Like now there's more talk about that. Like, hey, what are your revenues behind this? What are the like that's the kind of things that I'm getting at. Like, what is your treasury returning or things like that. So I think there's more that people are more substance behind it now than you know, and not that there wasn't before, but I think that there's more of a, you know, less of a leap, technological leap over at this point.
I also think that there's a nice kind of genres where people can identify what type of product it is. If you look at a product, oh, that's a yield farming product, or like, oh, that's a swap product, or that's a
Yeah,
cost chain liquidity product. They use similar UI now. They're kind of converging to two or three pattern. I think the Uniswap design has permeated as the standard design for all things that is a swap of some sort, cross
sure.
chain or otherwise. So I think people can start zooming out and say, okay, I may still have to learn how to use each step, but at least there's a pattern. So I think UX is always about user experience, always about pattern identification and learning the patterns,
Mhm.
and it makes it easier. So I feel like most of the time, within 2 minutes of using a dApp, I can identify the things that should work, and most of the time it does work.
Yep.
As opposed to 2 years ago, most of the times it doesn't work at all.
Right. Or you have to write to the actual contract itself or something like that.
Right.
We've gotten way past that, which is
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah, using Etherscan to call a command, it's not as needed anymore.
exactly, yeah.
Even
So
though it's a skill I recommend most people still retain,
I do
right?
agree with that. Yes, yeah, yep. Uh, it's dangerous, but tests, you know, you should be doing this in a test net or something like that.
Yeah,
But
just to know because sometimes the dApp will go down because of, and then you're like, you know what? You can always go behind the scenes and do them. So I think, yeah, I studied engineering, so I have a lens to be able to see it. But when I look at the kind of close the lid in that car, so just to think about the engines of DeFi as the hood, and you close the lid, you want to make sure that it still looks good and it's easy to cup holders, keeping your things warm and not spilling it. So I
yeah,
think that the product manager like yourself making this phase more accessible really does open up that kind of migration. That our thesis is that right now we're building for early adopters and locals of Web3 degens, but for this technology to really have the impact that we believe it has, the UX has to be as easy as someone who has just used Shopify or someone who used a Square terminal. They need to be able to find themselves in our ecosystem.
right, right, exactly. And I think, you know, we've gotten past the engine stage, and you know, now it is like, okay, putting the hood down and making sure that the paint's on it and whatnot. So yeah, I think that's what I meant in terms of like, hey, we're almost there. You know,
Almost.
it's not there yet, almost, right? There's still some work to do for
Yeah.
sure. But you could see these things kind of playing out now, and it's to your point, like Uniswap now is very similar experience to Sushi, and now if
Mm,
you go into another chain, you
yeah.
expect to see that, right? Like on
Yeah.
Phantom, you're like, okay, yeah, I understand what I'm doing here.
Yeah.
But yeah, then there's still more that we'll have, and I think that there's plenty room to grow, but we're getting there.
Yeah, and I think in the development space that we work in, we feel like the maturity for these kind of transactional builder apps, like to provide you the way to sign it and approve it, is pretty good. But one thing we did realize that when we want to zoom out and say, okay, how many people have done this thing? The tools to get the analytics out of these kind of Web3 APIs are not easy,
Nope.
right? Like even using subgraphs, which are kind of a querying interface with GraphQL being the language that people have learned how to use, but they're really a transactional processing engine that you can query, not an analytic projects. So, of course, you guys do a lot of these kind of internal data processing, try to get data in on these blockchain, which is available, but not in an easy form, so that you can do an analytic. What are you guys doing internally to kind of solve that problem? And how could developer learn from what you guys have done and maybe doing a better job on the kind of bulk analytic part of dealing with this blockchain data?
Yeah, yeah, it's a good question. And again, back to like, I am not a developer, so I would, almost defer some of the technicals to Evgeny and the other members of our technical team, but I will explain as much as I know, in that, we take the true raw data and parse that into tabular format, right? And so that's a we contributed, or Nansen started from a project called Ethereum ETL,
Hmm.
which is, or blockchain ETL now, I apologize.
Yeah.
Um, it was Ethereum ETL, now it's blockchain ETL, because
Yeah.
there's
It's
other
more general.
blockchains.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly, more generalized. But that is a way to take on-chain data and put it into a SQL format. So that's what we do on our team, is make sure that that's available, and then we build obviously dashboards on top of that. And I mean, saying just dashboards, there's a lot that goes into taking it from that form to
Yes.
middle layer that makes sure that it's performant, and make sure that we can use it in our actual front end, which then adds labels on top of it, and puts it in a format that's understandable. um, but yeah, all of that happens at scale, and we're always on, which is amazing, right? Like
Yeah.
the data is always there, and we have users on all times of the day, of the evening, that are available to get that same reliable information. So it's pretty amazing what we've built, kind of at the size of it.
Yeah, modern data infrastructure, obviously blockchain is smaller compared to other block information. It's crazy reliability kind of requirements. I still remember the time when I was building analytic system within the kind of education space. So I have some experience there, where it's like, oh, we'll run it on the weekends, right?
Right.
There's no
Yeah.
weekends.
No.
There's no 2 a.m. in the morning, because 2 a.m. in the morning is prime time somewhere else. So it's a very different sense. No, it's really cool to hear that the blockchain data is just one of the sources of information. Do you guys use off-chain data source beyond blockchain data source that you kind of correlate?
We do. We're starting to add more of that as well. The big example is OpenSea. So we add listings data, which is a new product that we just announced last week, actually. And
Hmm.
so that would be using OpenSea's API to show listings and to have a lot more information on that. So that's there. We're also, thinking about other off-chain sources of information, like order books and
Hmm.
yields and stuff like that. Although we can get those on chain, we might partner with others that would do that.
It's very cool.
Yep.
So, as you look out, in this next year, in terms of your product roadmap in your seat, what do you think would be the most important types of breakthrough that you believe will kind of bring it one step closer to the mass adoption? So, can you imagine a world where everybody has an Nansen account, or is this still something that you see as a power tools for the few VIPs?
Yeah, no, I think we want this to be in everyone's hands for sure. And that's the goal. I think there will always be, levels of, we will serve many different customers. And some institutions will want something different than the mass market. But what we want for everyone, the shared experience that we want to have, is a personalized experience, one that you get the information that you need and you want. So one thing that we just added recently to the product was the connection to your Web3 wallet. Shockingly as it is, Nansen was never actually connected to your Web3 wallet. So
Right.
we would show all this information, and it was all just generic about the chain itself. What we're able to do is, once you connect to your wallet, we're going to be able to give you, here's information specific to the things that you own and the things that you are interested in. And then, yeah, I mean, alerts, back to that kind of idea, is you don't even need to set these up
Yeah.
anymore. They just do it for you, right? So
Yeah.
that's where we're headed.
Would love to support that. So we have a product called Card Wallet, which is a Gnosis safe backed mobile wallet with Wallet Connect support. There is an official Gnosis safe iOS app, but it's really designed to be the full, powerful control dashboard for multi DAO
Yeah.
management. We want to basically make like the WeChat Pay version of Gnosis Safe, where under the hood is all the same Gnosis Safe mechanics, relay servers, gasless transaction. It will deduct some DAI from your wallet, but you don't need to have the specific AVAX or Matic. We'll just kind of reimburse you. So I would love to be able to kind of connect our wallets, and then maybe on the save that we have, we basically it's already 30% of all the saves on Gnosis chain. So we were the factory that minted them. I'm not saying that we are trying to do Argent on Gnosis chain using Gnosis Safe, but go along with that particular angle. That seems like a reasonable analogy when I expect to people. Yeah, I think people being able to log in using the wallet and kind of making that the single sign-on is very powerful. There's still gaps. I think many people working on it, signing with Ethereum. That's one project. The Rainbow Kit is another project. But hopefully we'll do a Gnosis Safe version and get people started on a safest wallet on the market.
For sure. Yeah. And I mean, we like to think of it as like, I mean, we want data to be the starting point. Back to like Bloomberg is that's where traders will come for information. I mean, you could also think of it as like everyday individuals, you start your day with data. And how do you start your journey in Web2? Well, you go to Google and you start searching for something, right?
Yeah.
The same thing could be said about Nansen. Like you want to know something about a project, let's just get you to that information that you really care about. And then you need to make your own decisions and pressing transact and trading or going into a project should be second after, all of this work that you've done ahead of time. And we will guide you along the way there. Like, hey, here's something you might be interested in because you were participating in this. Here's something that it's a related collection or et cetera. So I think we could kind of build that journey with the user. So that's what we have coming soon.
That's awesome. It's like driving where you can see out the window. I feel like a lot of times driving Web3 is like you're in like a tank and maybe like someone say turn left. Okay, is that gonna work? No, having that dashboard, literal dashboard, and that window into the world builds a confidence and makes it much more visual, much more thing, so you can enjoy the journey in this land, right? I don't even know what Web3 is. It's maybe made out of the acronyms. Maybe it's NFT land, like like Adventureland in Disney World, and there's DeFi land, and there is like GameFi land. So,
Yeah.
but it's definitely a really exciting world that we want to introduce people to and make them understand for fun and profit. This is the place that they can build their own digital future in the way that they own it.
Exactly. Yeah. And there is part of that. You're right about ownership and profit. And, that is exciting too. Like profit is exciting. And we do want to get people to where they're, involved in projects that are successful. And you should be using tools to make sure that you're, armed to get to that point. And I think that people will reinvest those profits into the community and then they'll start to participate a little bit more. So yeah, it's all good things, and I think there's a snowball effect there if we do this right.
For sure. And I think the journey, the on ramp is, has to be through great UX. And then I think the possibility space that we talk about, it's almost like the .com days. Everybody's like, oh, the internet's going to change everything. And then nothing changed.
Right.
And then slowly but surely, everything changed exactly the way Jeff Bezos and other people who stuck with the game and kept innovating. And I felt like Web3 builders need to just understand that, hey, there might be a moment where people doubt everything and laugh at pets.com, but that's not forever. And if we keep working on it, it may actually becomes the daily reality of most people. And it's probably better than having to do it the old way.
Correct. Yeah, no, I totally agree. Yeah, there's a lot of analogies there. And hopefully we don't see any more huge crashes or despair as we saw in 2018. But I think we're in like a smaller troughs, I would imagine, going
Yeah.
forward. But the general line is up, and people I think see that this is here to stay, and a lot of that was seen in Crypto Bahamas. I think that is just common, like there was a lot of energy there, and I think that's continuing. And this happens with all the other conferences too, not to mentioned ETH Amsterdam and all the other
Yeah, yeah.
that have
G
happened.
Amsterdam, right?
Yeah, yeah, I saw that sticker. That was cool.
That was pretty cool. I
Yeah,
don't think that was an official meme though. It wasn't official, but it was a great meme, I
it
guess.
was good. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's clever for
So
sure.
people always say let's build until they come, but I think let's meme until they come, right?
Right, it all helps, right? I mean, I'm not. I think it's great.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much. I've learned so much about Nansen and what your perspective is, but also the fact that I completely agree that the ability for us to come together as a community, right? We're collaborators, right? Everybody's working on different parts of it. You guys are working on a set of tools and no-code tools. We're working on the wallet and the kind of UI layer, try to even make it one step easier, right? Like, you guys are building like the big commerce engine for the big companies and the institution. We're just building the Shopify thing, but they're all part of the same ecosystem. So love to continue the conversation on Twitter and other places, but super excited to see the new product roll out the lines and give people a better view of what they're driving into through the dashboard.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, thanks for having me. I guess two service announcements or PSAs that I have to explain. One, we have a free product now. So if one of the things that we always hear is that Nansen might be expensive. The standard plan is we do ask that people pay for the subscription because it is actually difficult to put this data together and
Mm-hmm.
does cost
Yes,
us money. But we do have a free product now
that's great.
that we rolled out. So even if you aren't ready to ape into a subscription, you can try us out for free, which is a great, no obligation tool. And then, yeah, number two is we're hiring. So if you like, what we have to offer, we like the vision. Also, check us out at nansen.ai.
Sounds good. AI people, they're looking for places where they can do meaningful work. Not to say that big FAANG companies are not places to exercise your best tools, but if you want to do meaningful work about using your tools, using your talent to equalize the world, that the disparate of power is not held in one company and in one algorithm in one building. Blockchain is the place for it. The data is already everywhere. We just have to make sense of it. And then maybe what comes out of that, the signal come out of that, would compete well with the Web2 news feeds from the centralized entity, but in a much more shared community way. So big recommendation for people if you know your AI, know your Python, knows your SQL. Nansen's absolutely a place that they're doing some of the most interesting work in terms of deriving signals from the noise and the valuable information on blockchains.
Well said. Thank you. I think you said it better than me. So appreciate it.
So thank you so much, John, for spending time with us, and thank you for the community for your continued support. And until next time, take care.
Thank you.